Welcome now, JT Mitchell, News Director, SuperTalk Mississippi News. All right, what about it there, JT?
Hey, Gerard, how are you?
Well, I know you guys have been busy, man. Your team doing a great job, been humping it because there's a bunch of news to cover across the state. Of course, to some extent, you guys dip into the national scene as well. So we got elections coming up. We got offices that are up for grabs here in a couple of weeks. A lot of attention on that. And also we got voting kicking off as well. We want to make sure that folks know about that.
I mean, I appreciate you saying that because if we hit the reset button here for a minute, honestly, Gerard, the last month has been one of the harshest news cycles, I think, since 2020. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
I mean, you think back to 2020, you had a pandemic, you had the Black Lives Matter movement, you had our politicians in the legislature, they leave, they come back, etc. They then changed the flag, medical marijuana. It was fast and furious then. I think the past month can be, it's similar to that with everything we've been covering. Unfortunately, a lot of it's been bad news. Politics are heating up as well. But it's been a lot, so I want to give a big shout out to my team because it's not easy being a journalist.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people out there, they like to rip at journalists sometimes. But at the end of the day, most journalists have the same intention, and that's to give people the information they need to know and to let people know if something's happening in their neighborhood. And that's why we come to work. Yeah. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean it, too. Your team does a great job, and I know that you're constantly dumping on them. You got to go get to this, get to that, because it's happening at a site, and we can't control that.
No, we can't. And it's not like back in the day, I guess you can thank O.J. Simpson. It's not a 9 to 5 news cycle, right? It is 24/7, and so we're pushing it all the time to make sure everybody out there knows what's happening, whether you have a criminal in your neighborhood, a hurricane coming toward your house. That's what we're here for. And so we're on over 50 talk music affiliate stations across the state. We put everything in written format as well at supertalk.fm. So thank you to everybody out there who consumes us. But back to our regular scheduled programming.
One quick plug, sign up for the newsletter. Because I enjoy that. It comes out every Friday. Mm-hmm. And it's a great synopsis of all the headlines from the week, and boom, easy to drill down and get to the important news that's occurred over the last week. Sign up for that. How can they do that?
Just go to supertalk.fm. There's a ton of plugins on the website. You just put your email address in, and you'll be good to go.
Absolutely. All right, what's happening?
Well, one thing I've been thinking about this week is we are now 3.5 months since the municipal elections in June, in general at least. And, on the campaign trail, a lot of people, they say a lot of things, right? And then they get in office and it either pans out or it doesn't. I'm happy to report that based on everyone I talk to across the state, most of the new mayors are doing a really good job. Down in Long Beach, I've heard great things from Tim Pierce. Gulfport, the same from Hugh Keating. Mm-hmm. Holly Springs, you're seeing Charles Terry. You've had Chris Brown come on, the commissioner with the Public Service Commission, and say they're actually working with us now to try to get this utility issue fixed. Yep. So good stuff all around. This week, we covered the State of the City address in Jackson with John Horn. And I thought it was great. I really did. I thought that Mayor Horn did a beautiful job of transveying that they're doing a lot that might not meet the naked eye, because you have to return to the basics first before a lot of stuff is really noticeable. And he covered a lot. He spoke for about 34 minutes, and he talked about everything from his relationships that he's already working to get some outcomes. I mean, he's flown up to D.C. They're already talking about getting more money to Jackson Water, getting it reallocated. That would actually be part of the continuing resolution if this passes. He's worked with suburbs, with other governments, with the Hinds County Board of Supervisors, the City Council, to get more money for infrastructure improvements. They've created a task force for just about everything, addressing homelessness, holding landlords accountable. They're in the midst of a nationwide police chief search. This one you'll find really interesting that he broke this news during the State of the City address. For the first time ever, there is an employee from the Mississippi Development Authority on staff in Jackson, working to try to bring economic development to the capital city.
So desperately needed.
And a lot of this seems like it might be common sense, but the reason it's happening now is because people trust Mayor Horn. Everybody I talk to in government, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever, they like his vision. So he's doing a lot. One program he touted, which will have a tremendous impact, is he got a nonprofit. You go back to relationships. He worked with a nonprofit to allocate $1 million. Every single mother that's single living in public housing in Jackson can apply, guaranteed $1,000 a month for them. There's no catch, and it's supposed to help them pay down debt, maybe continue education, and get them and their kids out of poverty.
Came from a nonprofit.
Yes.
Right. So not from the government, the city's coffers. Came from a nonprofit.
And that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's trying
leveraging
to work
those.
with
He's built relationships as a senator for 3 decades.
And that's Magnolia Mothers Trust.
Okay.
And she was actually on the cover of Time magazine this time last year for this. There are other nonprofits in the nation that saw what she's doing and said, we need to do that.
Yeah.
So some good stuff going on in Jackson and other parts of the state with new mayors.
That's awesome. Well, I saw him the other day at an event and appreciate him attending that. It's a Catholic Charities event, and spent some time with him talking about it. And he was talking about the leak that had just happened at a museum. They just discovered. I know there's a leak at the zoo. You talked about that in your article. But this just occurred the night before. And so every day he's getting hit with surprises. But I think that's largely because his predecessor just didn't seem to be interested in tackling the really core foundational problems, and this Mayor Horn now is.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, and he's done a great job reconnecting with neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Because if all of your neighborhoods are working on the same cylinder, the city will do great.
Totally.
And so he's been connecting with different neighborhoods across the state. He's actually invited every single neighborhood to meet with his office about what they want to see in a police chief. I'd never heard of that. I mean, he showed up in my neighborhood recently for a listening session.
Good.
And on that note, you said senator by accident, but his seat is now up for grabs.
That's right.
That and 16 other legislative seats on November 4th. And so really, if you're out there listening, there's a lot of elections happening. Those 17 seats. There's school board elections, various local seats like coroner, etc. And you just need to go to y'allvote.ms, plug in your address, and see if you have an election.
Gotcha.
That's the best advice I can give you because it is kind of hodgepodge. But as you preach on your show, voting is so important.
Absolutely.
And not enough people vote.
Right.
And if you're one of those people, after you check to see if you have an election and if you look at your calendar, man, I'm going to be out of town on election day. Clerk's offices across the state are open beginning tomorrow all the way through next week and then next Saturday as well for you to cast an in-person absentee ballot.
Yep.
You have 2 weekend opportunities to get it done. And really, it's not terribly difficult to vote. It's not. If you're out of town, if you're 65 or older, if you live with a disability, there's a long list of reasons that you can actually vote early.
It's excuse-based.
Yeah. And then, of course, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 4th.
November 4th.
But these are the people who are going to the Capitol come January
That's right.
to fill those seats.
That's totally
17
right.
of them. So it's big that people get out and vote.
All right, we got Leah Smith on the program at 12:05. She's the General Counsel, VP for Policy and Advocacy for the Mississippi Hospital Association. You got some news that's kind of related to that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and she's going to come on and talk about a lot of other stuff as well. Yeah. But the study that we recently reported on, it was done in partnership with the CDC and a nonprofit Trust for America's Health, and it shows, honestly, that the nation's waistline is getting skinnier.
Good.
Mississippi's is not. That's the bad news.
Bad.
That's the bad news. For the first time in over a decade, the number of states with obesity rates below 35% has dropped. 19 states had rates higher than that number. The rest were lower. Mississippi was second to last. Over 40% of adults struggle with obesity.
All right, before you go, football this weekend.
It's a big weekend. High school tonight, 19 games through the SuperTalk networks. And then Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Southern Miss, JSU, everyone else will be covering at SuperTalk.fm.
Real quick, who's the Mississippi connection to this betting scandal?
Oh, you got to go read about it at SuperTalk.fm. But it's a guy from Bassfield, Marv's Fairley. And apparently he knows all these NBA players, was helping rig the games, make money. That's a big story. You look hard enough, you find a Mississippi connection, Gerard.
J.T. Mitchell, news director, SuperTalk Mississippi News. Coming right back. Stay with us.